Hello and welcome to the inaugural IRONMAN 70.3 Auckland, the very first time in Auckland, New Zealand. This event also doubles as the 2013 IRONMAN 70.3 Asia Pacific Championship. A big list of international pro triathletes have entered, very keen to be the first 70.3 Auckland champion.
Tim Burkle, Australian 70.3 champion, triathlon fashionista, welcome to Auckland.
Thank you very much, Phil. It's great to be back here and really looking forward to a new race and a new spot to race and new town, and yeah, really looking forward to it.
It's going to be a marvellous venue, isn't it? Harbour swim, out onto the bike and then a really flat run. Early season racing for you, how's it all looking?
Yeah, look, it's a big unknown for myself. You know, over the Christmas, New Year's break, it's always hard to get into some good training, but you know, I've had a pretty solid 5 weeks and I'm feeling pretty fit and raring to go.
Yes, Tim Burkle from New South Wales, Australia, the 2012 IRONMAN 70.3 Australia champion, a big name in Ironman. But there is a vocal Kiwi Olympic double medalist standing in his way.
It's the first time that a triathlon's gone over the Harbour Bridge, so that's pretty exciting. It just gets to showcase such a beautiful city. I used to live here in Auckland. It's fantastic sort of training and just an awesome city, so it's going to be a fun course.
Yes, Bevan has been a triathlete for a number of years. He's now 36, but still very tough to beat. A very strong all-rounder. In front of him, the #1 seed Kiwi, Cameron Brown.
Last year you guys proved that 40 can be the new 30 with some great results all around the world, and you in particular with a great result in Melbourne, battling Crowe down there in St Kilda.
Yeah, no, that was a fantastic race, and I'd love this race to be an Ironman, but it's a little bit more faster. So yeah, those short course guys, you know, they can step up to this distance very easily, and it's going to be, you know, exceptionally fast.
A great venue for spectators to take a look, and great harbour swim. It's going to be an exciting day with lots of action, lots of excitement and lots of colour.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a really fast course. It looks like no waves in the swim and pretty flat course on the bike and a quick run. And I like to be like in the middle of the city. That's very special to have a race in the middle of the city with a lot of crowds, and it's going to be good.
Caroline Steffen, nicknamed Xena because she's a super tough competitor. She is the current Asia Pacific Ironman and 70.3 champ.
Super tough effort from you in Kona in October last year. It was an epic race by all the 3 or 4 top women. How do you come off that, and how do you get back into the swing of things, knowing you again got so very close to victory?
It took me quite a while to get over it, and I'm maybe not over it yet, but I'm ready to race again. It didn't broke me at all. It's more, it gives me another boost for this year.
Xena, you're super strong, you're super tough and super talented. We look forward to seeing what you come up with on Sunday, and good luck to you.
Thanks a lot.
Joe Gambles, welcome to Auckland. Great spot for a 70.3 race.
Yeah, definitely. It's great to be back in Auckland. I haven't been here for years, and it's great to have such a unique event and such a big event in New Zealand now, and with some of the best athletes in the world from here, so it's great to race them on their home turf.
The Harbour Bridge has been included in this one for the very first time in a triathlon in Auckland, and it's a little bit steep, it's a little bit windy, and have you had a look at it, and what are your thoughts about racing up and down something such an iconic landmark?
Yeah, it's quite unique that we get the opportunity to race over this. I think the Auckland Marathon's the only other event that does that. So yeah, it's a great attraction.
Meredith Kessler, welcome to Auckland.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
First time for this race. What attracted you to come here?
You know, it wasn't that far to get here. It's the same as going California to Florida, and I was like, you know, there's no racing in the States right now, so we wanted to come and race in January, and Auckland was the place. And this caliber of field is once in a lifetime, so I wanted to come and give it a go. This weather and this area is very much like where I come from in San Francisco, so it's another reason to come out here. The wind, the chill, 1 second it's sunny, 1 second it's rainy. I love that. So I think with this course, it has enough hills and enough flat and fast and wind that it'll be a real honest and fair race for us all.
You said at the press conference you like to race the big title races. What is it going to mean for you to have a win here at the Asia Pacific Championships here in Auckland?
Yeah, I guess coming from running, you know, the big things were Olympic Games, Commonwealth Games, so moving over here, the big ones again, World Champs, Asia Pacific Champs, that's the races I really want to win. So yeah, it will mean a lot, and I won the Asia Pacific Champs last year, so defend my title will be awesome.
Well, if form is anything to go by, you'll have a great day. Good luck, and we'll be cheering for you as you try and take maybe a little bit of the Aussies shine into the victory.
Melissa is one of a number of Aussies here in Auckland keen on a cash and title raid.
You're the Australian champion, as we've said a number of times. You carry the hopes of the Aussies in there. Trans-Tasman rivalry, some good Kiwis there. It's always nice, though, to come here and upset them on their own home soil.
Look, it's very hard to come here and beat the Kiwis on home soil, but I'm sure one of us Aussies will give it a good crack.
Start not too far away. A beautiful morning for this, the first ever Ironman 70.3 Auckland. We've heard from some of the big guns. Let's get a close look at the course with our virtual eye flyover. The inaugural Ironman 70.3 Auckland is based at the VEC, the Viaduct Event Centre, in the heart of Auckland's revitalised waterfront. The 1.9 kilometre swim starts alongside Prince's Wharf in front of the Voyager New Zealand Maritime Museum. From the start of Siren, the athletes take a big swim in the Viaduct Harbour. They then enter the Viaduct Basin and under Te Whero footbridge, they exit the water via the Karenga Plaza steps. Turning right, head into the VEC transition, 1.9 k's, should take the elite athletes about 23 minutes. Exiting transition, riders head out along Halsey Street, taking a right, then left and right onto Westhaven Drive, cycling between the motorway and the marina as the first cycle leg heads north. Under the Auckland Harbour Bridge, they loop around to Shelley Beach off-ramp and take one of the few chances to cycle on this iconic landmark. It's a 16k grind over the Auckland Harbour Bridge clip-on for a slingshot out into Auckland's North Shore, connecting up to the Northern Busway right out to Constellation Drive and in the suburban streets of Rosedale. They then return via the outbound course to Auckland's Wynyard Quarter. Cycling around the North Wharf's tank farm. One lap of this north course, now 2 laps of a southern course. Riders head down Halsey Street and weave through the Viaduct Harbour streets, turning right onto Quay Street, which transforms onto Tamaki Drive. Then it's out around the Auckland waterfront bays to a turnaround point in the suburb of St Heliers. Then it's back along the outbound course to Wynyard Quarter. Again around the North Wharf tank farm before repeating this southern course again. 1 lap northbound, 2 laps southbound. Elite athletes should get through this 90k bike leg in 2 hours and 10 minutes. It's a challenge for some and pain for the rest. Off the bike at transition, onto the streets on foot. The run section of Ironman 70.3 Auckland leads runners back down Halsey Street onto a paved walkway around the waterfront Viaduct apartments and past cafes full of relaxed Sunday diners. A crystal clear distraction, but grinding on, runners head up and around Prince's Wharf, left onto Quay Street and out on the same waterfront roads to a turnaround on Tamaki Drive. Returning to Quay Street and around Prince's Wharf, they weave around the Viaduct Harbour streets to again run on the paved walkway around the waterfront Viaduct apartments and back to the Viaduct Event Centre. Here, turning in front of a grandstand and just short of the victory lane, there's no finish here. Straight back out for a repeat of lap 1 before returning to the finish line chute. The course for the 2013 Ironman Auckland 70.3. Wonderful view of the finish line here at Ironman 70.3 Auckland. A lot of spectators and athletes milling around, making their way across the footbridge to the start line. And here we have the elite men about to get underway in this race, and they are away. Clean start from all of them, joined in commentary by a man who should have been out there, unfortunately not. Let's welcome to Terenzo Pizzoni.
Thanks, Cam. Great to be on with you.
And a clean start from all these guys, as we're saying.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the two groups form, one group on the left, one group on the right. They're going to get around the first can, and a few guys are going to be regretting choosing the one group. There's going to be stronger swimmers leading, it looks like at the moment, on the left-hand group.
And you can see in the background as well, the women have started as well, 3 minutes behind the guys. And Terenzo, this has turned into a big pack of guys. Excellent conditions for swimming though, and being able to stay in that pack at this point.
Yeah, it's a beautiful morning. The water is just so calm. These guys are going to be able to find a good rhythm, and it's interesting to see that they haven't split up that much. I would have expected there's a few good swimmers, Cameron Dye, Joe Lampy. I would have thought these guys would have put the pace on at the beginning and try to get a bit of a gap.
Quite a technical course as well, Terenzo. There's half a dozen turning buoys and not much of an opportunity to get away, I guess.
It does make it really technical with all those buoys, but being at the front of the group around those buoys is going to make it easier for the guys at the front and harder for the guys at the back of the group. The one great thing about this course is it's right along the wharf. All the spectators can stand on the wharf and see the swimmers go past probably 3 times at least.
And here we are looking at the front end of the women's race, and already it looks like we've got the likes of Meredith Kessler, Liz Blatchford and Annabelle Luxford at the front, Terenzo.
Yeah, the women's team have spread out a lot more than the guys. Annabelle Luxford and Liz Blatchford, they come from an ITU background, so their swimming's really important. They're going to be pushing the pace.
And these women, they do spread out, like you say. We do end up with quite a few packs, and unlike the guys, the girls will try and get away and form a pack up the front.
Yeah, with the guys field, there's just so many Australians who are great swimmers in that front pack, and they're just going to be filling in those gaps, which in a race with less strong swimmers, those gaps would form and people would be able to get away.
And here we are back with the men's field, and as you were saying before, Terenzo, Cameron Dye, very strong swimmer. He's got a great stroke on him out the front, and he's starting to push the pace a wee bit.
Yeah, that's Cameron Dye at the front. Behind him, I think you'll find Joe Lampy, who's a great Australian swimmer. Also in that front pack is probably Graham O'Grady, Bevan Doherty, a few other of the Australians.
And we can see these guys are getting strung out a little, and you can see the men's pack is sort of broken into 2 or 3, and looks like one swimmer right out the back there. But it's becoming in 70.3, Terenzo. The swimmer's becoming very, very important to get good position heading onto the bike.
Yeah, it is important to have a full artillery. You want to be able to swim with that front bunch. You want to be able to ride with the top cyclists and be able to get off the bike and have a great run. The interesting thing here is the guys will form a big pack, and the further you are in that pack, as long as you're in that front pack, you're getting a draft. All the water's being broken up, and the swimming further back in the pack you get is easier.
That makes a lot of sense. Looking at the women here, and they will probably start picking up a couple of these pro guys that aren't as strong in the swim, but here we are with the men. That's Cameron Dye out the front. Looks like Joe Lampy has lost his swim cap, and a number of other guys going around the buoys. With so many turn buoys, Terenzo, what's that like? Everybody getting concertinaed in and going around the buoy. Is it tough?
It is tough. A lot of fists are flown. People kicking you in the face, elbows getting in your guts. It's really important to try to keep your elbows wide, keep your own personal space, and that way you keep the other guys away from you.
Elite triathletes aren't backwards and coming forwards, Terenzo. We all know that, so none of these guys are going to give an inch to each other, are they?
We're not overly polite when it comes to racing. Maybe on the sidelines will be nice, but when it comes to racing, we have our reputation on the line, we have prize money on the line, and points up for grabs as well.
And a quick shot of the women at the front end of this field, but back to the guys. And Cameron Dye and Joey Lampy looking quite comfortable in their swim as they head back towards the Viaduct Harbour itself.
You'll note with Cameron Dye, the guy who's on the front, his swim stroke is really good. He has a little bit of a quicker turnover than Joe Lampy, who's sitting behind him, and that means he doesn't have any dead spots in his stroke. He's catching the water very quickly out the front and keeping that momentum. There's a bit of a difference between swimming open water and swimming in a pool. In a pool, you want to have a little bit of a glide, but when you're open water, there's a little bit of a chop, there's a little bit of a current. You want to keep catching the water and moving through the water as quickly as possible.
Looking over the Viaduct Harbour here, it is a working harbour. A lot of ships in and out of here. We've had a lot of cooperation from the ports of Auckland to make this work and get this Ironman 70.3 Auckland race underway and working this morning. So these guys heading around one of the last cans out in the open water before they head right into the Viaduct Harbour entrance itself. And it's quite a cool thing, isn't it, Terenzo, for athletes to be out and swimming in this sort of area?
Yeah, it's great. I wish we could go out and swim in the Viaduct during the week or on the weekends. It's just such a beautiful place. They look up, and the scenery of Auckland City with the Sky Tower in the background, it's just great.
So a very long queue of guys now, and they are starting to spread a wee bit. Is this through fatigue, or is it just through the guys at the front deciding they've had enough and want to go a bit quicker?
Well, you'll find with the guys on the front, they're really good swimmers, and they won't be slowing down, they won't be speeding up, they'll be swimming the same pace as what they started. The guys who are at the back of the pack, they might be able to swim that pace for the first 1,000 metres, but after that 1,000 metres, they start struggling, their breathing starts to pick up, their arms start fatiguing, and that's when they drop off. Back to the women, the interesting thing with the women is in the swim, they lose the least amount of time to the guys. There's very small deficit.
And when you've got the likes of Blatchford, Luxford, Kessler, these girls are very strong swimmers, like you say. They could keep up with a lot of these guys at the best of times.
You don't want to be swimming at the back of that guy's pack with risk getting passed by a girl.
Here we go.
Back to Cameron Dye
out the front. And like you're saying, Terenzo, he does look comfortable. He just a quick look up to see where he's going, make sure he's on the right track. Is there an advantage to being at the front, or you'd be better being second or third?
With Cameron's advantage is being on the front. He's a great swimmer. He can set up his own rhythm, and that way he's pushing the pace of the swim. The guys further back, they're getting an advantage sitting on his feet. The water is broken, and it's easier for them to keep up with him.
And all these guys are stretching out. Can see some other swimmers up in the background there. We do have an extensive age group race today, so that'll be some of the guys at the sharp end of the age group race. But Cameron Dye very much has the swim under control at this point, and putting a little gap into Joey Lampy, and then looks like those two will be just off the front a little.
I really like Cameron Dye's stroke. He's turning over very quickly, but also when he's looking up and trying to sight the boys in front of him, he's not spending a lot of time with his head out in front. If you spend too much time with your head lifted in front of you, your hips are going to sink, and it's going to change the whole hydrodynamics of your stroke. So he's looking very quickly, his hips are staying stable, and he knows where he's going.
And he seems to be comfortable breathing on both sides, Terenzo, and that's, I guess, very important for a balanced stroke and more efficiency in the water.
It just shows that he's come from a swimming background, and he's a great guy. In the short distance, non-drafting races, he's one of the best athletes around the world. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes over the 70.3 distance.
Well, he's showing right now that he's not afraid of anybody, and I know in a few dispatches before the race, he was someone that everybody did think would go well in the swim. Not sure what would happen on the bike and run, but we're going to find out in a hurry. And here we see some of the bikes in transition. The one that is Cam Dyer's in particular hails from the USA, and as he was saying earlier, it's quite easy to get from the US to Auckland, direct flight down here, and be able to race in a race such as IRONMAN 70.3 Auckland.
So this front group is now down to 10 guys. The guys behind are strung out a little bit. As we swim into the Viaduct Basin, the tide is going out. They're 2 hours short of low tide, so they're swimming against the current. The guys who are at the back of the group are going to get a bit more of advantage. It's like cycling into a headwind and drafting behind the guys in front of you. The advantage you get is a lot better.
See a lot of supporters, friends and family, and interested people coming down to have a look. And as Terenzo was saying earlier, lots and lots of vantage points right around this course. But it is wonderful to have a swim like we do have. There is a lot of opportunity to be able to see as we go back mid-pack for the women. And one of our other international athletes swimming through there. But that's a wonderful shot. That's right into the entrance of the Viaduct Harbour. And Cam Dye and the like about to come through that entrance. Nice place for people to be able to watch them.
I know a lot of the amateurs are really looking forward to the swim. Being able to swim into the Viaduct Basin and look up when you're sighting the boys and see the Sky Tower in the background. You don't get to do that every week.
And also as you look up, you'll be able to hear all the people on the sideline cheering and yelling your name or just cheering in general. And it's a real boost, especially in a swim when you can be a bit lonely at times.
I really enjoy coming to the end of a swim when you see people on the side of wharfs cheering you on, trying to wave you to the finish line. And And it's great to know that you're almost there, you're almost at the finish. These guys' arms will be hurting. And the guys who are struggling on the back, I think Bevan Doherty's just on the back of this pack, and he'll be looking forward to the end of the swim and getting on the bike.
Yeah, and it is a case sometimes for some guys in particular, you know, swimming may not be their strength, but they're looking forward and they think to themselves, if I can just stay in touch, if I can stay within 30 seconds, a minute of these guys, then I'll be able to catch them back up at the start of the cycle leg.
That's exactly right, Cam. They're just trying to limit their deficit, limit the loss they have in the swim. Cameron Brown, who's probably not one of the better swimmers over this distance, he's going to be expected to be out of the water about 2 minutes down, with a couple other strong cyclists, James Bosted, Mark Bosted, his brother, and Tim Reed.
See some wonderful boats in the background there. I think one of those ones is your one, isn't it, Terenzo?
Yeah, you haven't seen it yet. It's on the right. You might see it when the guys come out the water.
Okay, that big one that's about the size of 3 houses.
Yeah.
As we go through the viaduct here, and it's very flat, and that's a wonderful thing when you get in here. It's almost like pool swimming.
Yeah, it is nice in here. It's really smooth, really protected. These guys are going to be pushing the pace. It looks like Cameron Dye is really trying to pick the pace up at the end. He's got the bunch with him, but if he can get the heart rates of the guys at the back of the bunch up 5-10 beats before they get onto the bike, he's going to have a little bit of an advantage because he's very comfortable swimming at this pace.
So coming towards the end of the 1.9 Ks here in the swim leg, they'll be going under the Te Whero footbridge. Again, a lot of spectators on this bridge. This bridge goes up and down as boats go through it, but obviously staying down for spectators and athletes to get across to transition. So it is going to come around this last can and then up the steps and into transition. So Cam Dye making sure that he gets around this last one without too many dramas. Then it's just a straight drag race and up through the steps and through to transition.
Heading up the Karanga Plaza steps, the guys are going to really want to push as much as they can. Cameron Dye, he's going to have a quick transition. He's going to want to keep the pressure on, keep people hurting. And the guys further back, Bevan, with his ITU background, he's going to be trying to make up, get back to the front of this group and get back in control of the race.
Well, you're exactly right there, Terenzo. Cam Dye just bounding up those steps. I think he's taken them 2 at a time, trying to keep the pain on the rest of these people. And these guys, here we go. Cam Dye, 23 minutes, 20 seconds. That's a very quick swim.
Yeah, that's really quick, and it's just interesting to see so many guys have hung in there.
Here we see each other out there.
Yeah, Joe Lampy giving Cam a bit of a hand with his wetsuit, getting it down. That's the great thing with the sport. Well, while we all want to beat each other, there's still great sportsmanship out there, and we'll help each other at all costs.
So a number of athletes flooding into transition. There's Cam Dye.
Beautiful locks.
Oh, it's wonderful, isn't it? He could probably merchandise himself with those locks. That's what works for him. And so Cam Dye is in the lead here. Joseph Lampy had a very good swim.
These guys are going to be pushing the pace. Wetsuit off, helmets on, sunglasses on. They're going to grab their bikes. Their cycling shoes are already attached to their bikes. This makes the transition a lot quicker. When they get on their bikes, they're going to start putting on their shoes, buckling up their shoes, and get straight up to race pace.
So how does that work? They just put their shoes on and push like anything and then just sort of strap them in later?
Yeah, exactly. They start pedaling on top of their shoes, and then once they have a bit of speed up, they slide their feet into their shoes.
There's a shot there, Cameron Brown, #1 seed, 10 times Ironman New Zealand champion, trying to make a real impression here. Cameron is, kicks that wetsuit off. And Tim Reed from Australia in the background there. He wears the Speedo, black and white check, always rocks a bit of a moustache as well. Quite a character in the sport.
Cameron's about 2 minutes down. I'm sure that's what he expects on this group, but he's going to go straight in there, try and limit his losses on the bike. He knows that he's strong over the second half of the bike. He paces himself really well, and he's strong throughout that whole half marathon. He'll run very evenly.
And here's the front of the women, 25:40 for Annabelle Luxford. She's leading the swim. Meredith Kessler right behind her with the green cap on, and behind her until recently was trying to qualify for the Olympics for Great Britain. Didn't quite happen, so she's come to 70.3, and that's Liz Blatchford.
Annabelle's going to keep the pressure on as much as she can through transition. With the ITU background, the transition is such an important part of the race where you can win and lose the race. So these girls who come from the ITU racing step up to the 70.3 races. Their transition is their strong point. You're gonna see how quick she is through here.
Yeah, look, they just kick the wetsuit off, don't they, and it's straight into it, no mucking around at all. Here's Caroline Steffen. Swimming isn't the strength for her over the 3 legs. She's got a couple of minutes down from these girls, but she'll try and make that up on the cycle. So here they go, straight out of transition.
Yeah, Caroline's a really strong biker, so she's not going to be too worried about this deficit. I think she's 2 minutes down. Her big thing is just going to be settle into her rhythm, stick to her race plan, and hopefully the girls come back to her.
Which is a former professional cyclist, Caroline Steffen, so she'll be looking to make an impression here as we look over West Haven Marina and obviously the Harbour Bridge in the foreground. A lot of athletes very excited. First time a triathlon has gone over the Auckland Harbour Bridge, and that's Clark Ellis from New Plymouth on the front of this group of guys. And Terenzo, this shot shows how steep, how much of a gradient is actually on the Harbour Bridge.
I never really noticed it driving over the bridge a couple times a day. You think it's just a small little hill. But as soon as they announced the Ironman 70.3 Auckland, whenever I drove over the bridge, I started paying attention, and it's actually quite a decent gradient. We have James Hodge out the front trying to make a move. This is a very brave move. He's only 21 years old, and he's going for it.
And it's good to see. Here's Annabelle Luxford. Overtaking one of the pro guys. He'll look over his shoulder and be like, oh, whoopsie. But there goes Annabelle. She's racing extremely well, Terenzo, and looking to, as you said earlier, just put the pain on these other girls and try and put a gap into Caroline Steffen.
Yeah, that shot of her, she's not holding anything back. She's bringing it. She's giving it her all, and it's great to see it.
And usually, as we see Bevan Doherty on his bike, usually, Terenzo, we'd see you out the front of here, but not to be. You managed to have someone open their car door in front of you when you're out training a couple of days before the race.
Yeah, I was actually riding around this part of the course, and car door was open on me. Broke both my wheels, broke my new Argon 18 frame, and a little bit of my body, but hopefully everything's on the mend. We have Christian Kemp here trying to make a move, trying to make a run for it.
I think Christian Kemp will feature later on in this race as we look at James Hodge. As you're saying, a young guy, and look, he's just chucking it down there, looking behind him, see who's around. At the moment it's just fresh air, but he'll just be having a go and see what happens.
That's the great thing about the sport, the Ironman 70.3 circuit. 5-6 years ago, there weren't that many races around. Now you could race almost every weekend. And for the young guys, it's a great learning opportunity. They can go out, they can test their limits, they can push the pace. And if they blow up this weekend, there's always next weekend or 2 weeks' time where they can come out and try again.
And Annabelle Luxford, she's executing her race plan very, very well. She'll be very happy with how things are panning out at this point as these cyclists negotiate the turn. And Caroline Steffen, interesting, Terenzo, she's got a very low cadence. By that, she pushes a bigger gear than some of these other girls.
Yeah, there's 2 schools of thought with cadence. She's coached by Brett Sutton, and his philosophy is a big gear, push the big gear. That way it's going to lower your heart rate. But pushing the big gear is putting more strain on your muscles. Where Annabelle here, she's got a high cadence. She's cadence is up at 95. She's saving a little bit of muscle energy, but her heart rate is maybe 5 beats higher than what it would be if she was riding a low gear.
And here we have a number of our age group athletes as they are going around the exact same course as the elites. One of the beauties of Ironman 70.3 and Ironman racing is you get to do the exact same course as the elites. So these age group races, Terenzo heading in towards transition after the 1.9k swim.
Yeah, these guys need to be picking up the pace a bit.
And so here's the age groupers out of the water. And thanks to Virtual Eye, we're looking to see where the guys are right now. And that is entering the Harbour Bridge, about to finish the northern part of this course.
Yeah, James Hodge, he'll be going up over the bridge, and when he gets to the top, he'll have a look over his shoulder, see what kind of gap he has formed over this chase group.
And here we have Clark Ellis from New Plymouth on the front. And right behind him is Paul Ambrose. And Paul, he sort of has that angry look on his face, but I think he generally has that most of the time when he's on the bike. He leaves it all out there, doesn't he, Paul Ambrose?
Paul's a tough guy. He's going to ride hard, and he's going to ride the second lap of this bike hard. It's interesting to note now the second group, the chase group out of the water, has now caught up, and the group's doubled in size. Bevan Doherty moving closer to the front of the group, going over the bridge. He's going to be doing that so no one can make a move on him. If someone makes a move, he's ready. He's up there. He's not going to let anyone get away.
So Bevan will be looking at this one, by moving around, staying towards the front, feeling he can perhaps control the pace and control this race a little.
Well, being at the front's a safer place, less opportunity for crashing, going around the corners, around the viaduct. you don't have to accelerate as much because the group's not strung out. And also, there's less problem of getting caught for drafting. When you get further back, bunch gets messy, people start getting really close to each other, and you get slingshotted around the corners. So when you're accelerating out of the corners, you're having to accelerate twice as hard.
So here we have James Hodge at the front of this course. Ironman 70.3 Auckland, negotiating a few corners here. He's going to go left, and that will take him into Tank Farm. And there's a bottle drop and pick up in here as well. But these corners, Terenzo, has been a little bit of a light drizzle this morning, so it does make it a bit more dangerous, especially over those white lines, etc.
Yeah, it seems to be just raining over the viaduct, and that's the most technical part of the course. There's so many tight corners. You're crossing that white paint several times, and these guys just have to take it careful. James Hodge up the front, he's going to be trying to push the pace as much as he can around those corners so he can increase his gap.
Find it interesting that all of these girls don't really seem to be too concerned who's behind them, especially about Annabelle Luxford. She's just not even looking over her shoulder. She's doing her own race off the front.
That's the best way to be doing it. It's the best way to learn about how to race, what your limits are. She has her race plan and she's going to stick to it. And when she doesn't have the other girls around her, it's really easy for her to stick to her own race plan. She doesn't have to react to what the other girls are doing.
Annabelle Luxford on the southern part of this course, going past the ports of Auckland as we look back to transition, and more age groupers flooding through transition. Nice clap from a volunteer there. We always need volunteers to make successful races. A couple of young ladies there very happy to get the swim done.
Back to the lead guys around the waterfront bays. There's Kelly Taltons in the corner.
Yeah, and look, there's looks like Christian Kemp there from Australia. He's starting to make a move, but James Hodge is up the front. And do you think they'll let him go for a while? Will they be concerned about his run?
Yeah, I think the main contenders in this group, that's Joe Gamble's on the front, Bevan Doherty, Graham O'Grady. They'll have a few guys who they're concerned about, but I don't think James Hodge is on their radar. And it's getting a bit dangerous. I think he's up to about a 1.5 minute lead.
You don't want anyone to go out too far, and the leaders have completed the turnaround at Long Drive out at the suburb of St Heliers, and heading back on the same course back towards Auckland's viaduct.
We have Christian Kemp and Paul Ambrose. Looks like they're trying to make a move for it. They've dropped the pack, and they're going to be trying their hardest to increase that coming off the bike.
James Hodge is going to get whiplash if he keeps looking over his shoulder too much, but he's almost completed the first of the 2 southbound laps and trying to negotiate this technical part, as Terenzo was saying before, around the tank farm and the viaduct centre. And we can see the gap from the guys. Back to the women. Annabelle Luxford is still in control of this race, just going over for those that know the area, going past the Strand at the bottom of Parnell, and just a little bit of a downhill back towards the city.
That's the only little hill on the course, on this side of the course. There's Carolyn Stefan back in the big gear. She's grinding it. She's really trying to stay strong. She's trying to keep pushing that big gear.
So we see Bevan Doherty at the front of the chase pack. All these guys trying their best to maintain a gap between each other. This is a non-drafting race, and you don't want to be standing on the side of the road for 3 minutes, Terenzo, with a drafting penalty.
No, you don't. The draft rule is 7 metres, so each cyclist has 7 metres from the cyclist in front, and they have to stay out of that zone. They have 15 seconds to make a pass, and they're not allowed to draft.
And we can see it looks like Paul Ambrose is about to attempt to pass on Christian Kemp, and these two guys on the second lap coming round the waterfront at the moment.
Looks like they've done a good job getting away from the group. I would have been a little bit more concerned with Paul Ambrose. Christian Kemp, who's a little bit unknown, he's got a few results, but he hasn't finished a lot of races. I would have been trying to mark him, make sure he doesn't get away.
And we can see James Hodge turning around here. An age group athlete in behind him. Remember all the age group athletes, so it's an age group athlete in behind him at the moment, and that age group athlete will be 1 lap down on the elite males. So Hodge definitely still out there by himself. A good opportunity, Terenzo, on these courses when you have 180-degree turns to see where the opposition are and what sort of form they're in.
Yeah, it's great. James will be looking at his watch, seeing what kind of gap he has over these guys. If that gap's growing, if it's shrinking, should he keep pushing? Should he keep trying to stay by himself, or should he wait for these guys to catch up and try sit in the back of them and get a little bit of an advantage going to the end of the bike and onto the run?
So lovely view from the chopper up over Mission Bay, Bastion Point. A lot of greenery in Auckland for people who are looking to come down and do this race or to visit the area. And we look right around all this farmland in Auckland, across some of our suburbs, and through to Okahu Bay and right round to Hobson Bay as well, Terenzo, a wonderful part of the city.
it's such a beautiful city, and I'm so gutted I'm not racing. It's always been a dream of mine to race in Auckland, and this is my distance, the 70.3 distance. I'm just cringing, but all these guys are doing a great job, and here's Annabelle Luxford making the turn.
And interesting, Terenzo, that when she makes that turn and heads back in towards town, she'll see Caroline Steffen, and she will know what that gap is. She'll be very, very happy with how this is panning out.
Yeah, with Caroline being one of the strong female cyclists in the sport, Annabelle's, she's got to be a little bit scared that Caroline's going to catch her. And when she does make that turn and she sees that she's actually growing the lead on Caroline, it's going to give her an overwhelming sense of confidence going into the end of the bike and onto the run.
And also, it's no secret that Annabelle Luxford over this sort of distance can run quite well. She has had a 70.3 win, but to take on and do the Asia Pacific Championship is something else. As see these guys just getting out of the saddle and getting up over this little hump in the road, just at the bottom of town past the ports of Auckland.
Yeah, it looks like James Hodge riding around the tank farm near the end of the bike. He's going to be trying to pick up the cadence a bit, shake out his legs, try and stretch out his hips and make sure his shoulders, so when he starts the run everything's relaxed and he can get into great running form straight away. Caroline Steffen back at the opposite end of the southern course near St Heliers.
And James Hodge, towards the end of this, Terenzo, do you think he'll even try and pedal harder and just give himself a little bit more distance?
I don't think that'd be a good idea. I think the best thing James can do is try and just relax a little bit, try bring his heart rate down, take in a bit of extra nutrition, extra calories, and just get ready for that run, because it doesn't matter if he has an extra 5 seconds. He's built most of his lead now, and when he goes on the run, he just has to settle into his rhythm.
So here he is coming in towards the finish line. He has been caught by Paul Ambrose, and Paul just in front of James Hodge coming into transition. This is a fast and furious transition, this one, Terenzo, as we see Clark Ellis and Bevan Doherty in here as well.
Yeah, Paul's had a good ride. He was behind the front pack coming out the water, and he's caught up.
Well, he's left something behind, but a good idea, left his nutrition behind. So there's James Hodge, is out of transition in first place. But if you do, as an experienced athlete, if you leave something in transition, you're that close to transition, you're best to go back and pick it up.
Yeah, if it's something as important as nutrition, I would go back and get it. Nutrition is what gets you through the race. It's your calories, it's your fuel. Your car can't run without petrol, and your body can't run without fuel. So making sure you're putting calories into your body is essential to being able to keep pushing that whole run and not blow up halfway through.
So here's Cam Dye, looking to try and make an impression after swimming so well. Bevan Doherty, Clark Ellis. But Cam Dye looks like he may have pushed himself quite a lot earlier on in this race.
It's a little bit of an unknown for Cameron Dye, the second half of the bike and the second half of the run. Yeah, I think he might be a little bit upset not being able to stay up the front in contention coming off the bike. But he's going to settle in his rhythm, and yeah, here Graham O'Grady has lost a shoe. It's actually one of the rules, you're not allowed discarding anything on the course, so that's really, really good of him. He knows the rules, he's gone back, he's picked up his shoe, and now he's running into transition.
Yeah, Graham, isn't a very intelligent racer, Graham O'Grady, as we see James Bowstead wrecking his bike in the red, white and black, one of the local Kiwi hopes.
Yeah, James is one of the stronger cyclists. His swim's a little bit behind, and I don't think he's going to be too happy with that. He usually would expect himself to ride up to the front bunch.
Luke Bell, one of the Australians in the field today. James Hodge out the front, going around Prince's Wharf at the moment.
He looks quite good. His turnover's really good. He doesn't seem to look really fatigued. He's not sitting in his hips. We call it sitting in a bucket. So his hips are still reasonably under his body. His legs are turning over about 90, 92 cadence. Back to transition, Mark Bowstead, James's brother.
And there we have Tim Reed from Australia. Tim, an accomplished racer as well, and Mark Bowstead probably wondering how far up the road his brother James is.
Yeah, Joe Gambles again. He's not going to be happy. He was just behind he was actually in the front bunch, leading that front bunch coming off the Harbour Bridge, and I think he got a flat tyre, so that's why he's a little bit behind.
And we see there the number 1 seed, Cameron Brown, is still not in transition. We know he has had dramas with a puncture, and we'll find out a bit more about that a bit later on. But here's Christian Kemp, and he's made a real move right at the front and got himself just in front of Paul Ambrose.
Yeah, they look to be running well. I think James Hodge is just a little bit in front of them. And then behind them you can see Bevan and Clark.
Annabelle Luxford heading towards the back end of the cycle course.
She's had a great ride. I can't believe how close she is to the guys. She's done really well.
So heading into transition, second place is not even close at this point for Annabelle Luxford as she heads up the side of the Viaduct Event Centre towards transition. Managed to get off, nice transition off to jog up with her bike and get herself ready for a run.
It's going to be interesting to watch her transition. I think she's going to fly through here.
It's bred into her, isn't it? It's bred in her to just go as quick as you can at any given opportunity.
Well, it's free speed here in transition. You're not doing any exercise. Oh, wow, that was amazing. Such a quick transition.
And here's Cameron Brown running his bike in. Turns out he got a puncture a couple of Ks ago and jogged his bike all the way into transition.
Hey, good on him. That's pretty respect. I mean, Cameron, he's a little bit out of contention for the prize money now, and it would be very easy for him just to say, okay, it's not my day, but great respect to the man for staying out there and helping put on a great show for Auckland. Back to Carolyn Steffen coming off the bike. She's going to be a little bit upset that she didn't manage to reel in a bit of that deficit to Annabelle Luxford. I think looking at the splits, Annabelle actually rode about a minute quicker than her.
And at the front of this course, Terenzo, James Hodge is still hanging tough and leading this race.
That's really impressive with Bevan chasing him down, Christian Kemp and Clark Ellis. He's doing amazing. He's only 20, 21 years old, and I would have expected him after that big heroic effort on the bike. I thought he would have been walking by this stage.
So they have made the turnaround and heading back towards the city. Clark Ellis in the yellow, Bevan Doherty without the cap, and Christian Kemp with the black and the hat on backwards. But Hodge, it looks like he is just starting to suffer a wee bit here.
Yeah, there you have Tim Reed heading out. He's still on his way out. He won't be happy. He's probably one of the stronger runners, and yeah, he's just too far behind to make anything count.
These guys going past an aid station, getting as much nutrition into them. I see Bevan's onto the Coke already, Terenzo.
Yeah, it looks like Bevan's trying to get in as much calories as he can. Yeah, he doesn't seem to be happy. That's one thing you really have to manage is your nutrition. You have to be able to get in at least 600 calories, 500-600 calories on the bike. And then when it gets to the run, you still need a little bit of calories. I usually stick to Coke and water, take a few Cliff gels, and yeah, and hopefully that gives me enough energy.
As a leader, the last thing you want to see is a bike with second place male written on it, because it means the guys aren't too close, and here comes the catch.
Yeah, James has done a great job holding on to the lead for this long, but these guys are just too quick runners. They've been riding in a pack, they've saved a little bit of energy, and here they go. They're going to run right past him. If he has anything left, he's going to try hang on at the back of that pack.
So you try and hang on, but there are times when you just can't. But you just got to push yourself as hard as you can. But it looks like the gap is starting to grow.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame. It looks like he's just almost, I mean, he hasn't given up, but he's just run out of energy. His legs are saying no, no, no. And he's just trying to push, trying to keep his mind saying yes, yes, yes.
Is there a time that you think to yourself, you know what, I can't keep up with these guys, but maybe I can conserve some energy and hang on to 4th or 5th?
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure that's what's going through his mind now. Maybe I can hang on for 4th, I can hang on for 4th.
As we look back here to the women's race, and we can see the Annabelle Luxford, nobody in behind her, and she is doing a complete race. It's a real dominant performance.
She looks great. Just the amount of focus on her face. She has great turnover, great posture. There's nothing weak about her running technique at the moment.
Has the sunglasses on her head, and as Terenzo was saying, a picture of concentration. So look at this shot over Auckland City, around the viaduct. That's exactly where all these guys are going to be running, around the viaduct walkway, right up close to these boats. And they're coming in towards the Viaduct Event Centre, and they'll be turning around in front of the grandstand, in front of transition, and heading back out for a second lap.
They'll really be enjoying this part with all the spectators cheering loud, the big Viaduct Event Centre in the background. This is the exciting part of the race. This is what boosts your morale and gives you that little bit of extra adrenaline for that second lap.
And Clark Ellis we don't know anything about Clark over this distance. He probably doesn't know a heck of a lot about himself over this distance, with all due respect to the guy, but he's hanging really tough with especially a guy like Bevan Doherty, who can be quite intimidating.
I think Clark's race plan going into it was just shadow Bevan as long as possible. Bevan's got a few good results over this distance, and if Clark can keep up with Bevan as long as possible, he knows he's going to have a good race.
So these three guys, you would think, are going to just keep increasing this lead. Be interesting to see if anyone can make any sort of impression. But at this point, going past this aid station, Doherty, Ellis, and the Australian Christian Kemp.
I really like how Christian looks. Here, they've made a move on Clark. Bevan surged, and Clark just couldn't match it.
What are we going through Christian Kemp's head right now? What are we going through Bevan Doherty's head?
Well, if I'm Christian, I'm thinking I can't beat Bevan in a sprint finish. Bevan's got an amazing kick on him, and he'd be really tough to beat over a sprint finish. This is the time. He's got a little bit of a tailwind heading back out to the turnaround, and this is the time for him to make a move. Just put a little bit of extra pressure on Bevan.
Caroline Steffen, second place in the women's race at the moment. Comfortable in second, but second isn't good enough for her. She'll be trying to chase down first, but the gap is not decreasing, it's increasing.
You're never happy with being second. You always want to be in first. You want to win races, and she's just trying. She's giving everything she can to try and bridge a little bit closer.
So past the ports of Auckland on the second lap of this course. And Christian Kemp has made his move on Bevan Doherty.
Yeah, just like I said, he can't back himself for a sprint finish. He needs to make the move, and this is the time to do it, where he has a little bit of a tailwind.
And he's picked his cadence up, and he's running very, very well, isn't he?
I really like his form. His cadence is great. His technique is great. His hips are under his body. He looks really relaxed at this pace.
Quick look over his shoulder, and that gap has grown out to 20 metres quite quickly.
Just hold. You can see Bevan's turnover is slowed down a little bit. He's just a little bit sluggish at the moment.
But we all know that there's no one tougher than Bevan Doherty, as we see Annabelle Luxford completing the first lap of 2, and she is that picture of concentration. She's just executing that game plan in her head.
Yeah, there is no one tougher than Bevan, and he's going to be giving it. Christian, yeah, he's got a good lead. He's turned around at the cone. He's going to have a look and count. Okay, he's got about 20 seconds on Bevan, but that's not enough. He's going to be trying to grow that lead as much as he can, because Bevan, you don't want Bevan behind you coming into those last few kilometres.
So what's Bevan thinking at the moment? Is he thinking, look, this guy's going to come back? I mean, in your second place, you've got the work to do, haven't you?
Well, I think Bevan's probably hoping this guy's trying to make his move too early and he's going to blow up. But probably Bevan's thinking, okay, what can I do to try squeeze every little bit out of every single stride? And that's what he's going to be doing. And Bevan knows if it comes down to it, he can run 10, 15 seconds quicker over that last kilometre.
And you can see Bevan's run cadence and his run form has picked up quite nicely along here.
Yeah, he's looking really good again. His stride seems to have perked up.
So we're going to go from men's second to women's second with Virtual Eye, and Caroline Steffen is completing her first lap.
She's looking really good. Her hips are really good. They're under her body. Her cadence is good. Her shoulders are good.
As we see former Commonwealth Games steeplechaser and has won the Ironman 70.3 World Champs, Melissa Halschilt from Australia, done one lap out into second, and she runs very, very well.
There we have Christian Kemp, the leader of the men's race, looking really good. And Bevan Doherty chasing him down. Bevan's going to want to win this race more than anything. It's his home country. He wants to put on a show for New Zealand.
It looks like Christian Kemp's coach telling him to go, telling him he's got a good gap, and look, he's hanging it together. He's holding it together extremely well.
Yeah, he's moving a little bit side to side at the moment, which I don't like, but his legs are telling a different story. His legs are turning over really well, and that's a good tell. If someone's cadence is still high, they've still got a little bit of energy in reserve.
So Christian Kemp out the front here at Ironman 70.3 Auckland, but Bevan Doherty is still exerting a lot of pressure, but this gap is big enough that Christian Kemp can make this work.
Yeah, they have about 1.5 kilometres to go. They're running around Princess Wharf as we speak. And yeah, here he's come off the wharf. He's still got a lead, and he's going to look over his shoulder. He wants to know what he has in reserve, how much time he has to enjoy that last kilometre. But with Bevan right behind him, I don't think he can yet.
And the thing is, the way this course is structured, going around the viaduct walkway, there are a lot of opportunities. You can just glimpse over and see where the next person is.
Yeah, there's a lot of corners. One thing to watch out for is running on these bricks with a little bit of moisture on them. It's going to be a little bit slippery, so both of them need to be careful not to push it too hard.
Heading past some of these magnificent boats parked in here at Auckland's Viaduct Harbour. I'll be heading round the front of these apartments. Past Terenzo's boat in the foreground there as we see Clark Ellis in third place, and he's hanging on to third. He'll be very happy with this.
Clark's done a good job to hold on to third. When Bevan and Christian made their move, he looked like he was dead, but he's doing okay.
And here he comes in towards the finisher's chute. This is Christian Kemp from Australia, and he's got enough now. He knows he's got it in the bag, puts his hand up, salutes the crowd, a couple of high fives to the volunteers, a quick left, and he'll be heading down the finisher's chute to claim his title.
That's the great thing about New Zealand and Australia. While we do have this rivalry, New Zealand, the crowd here in Auckland, are still going to welcome Christian home as he is one of our own.
And here he is, Ironman 70.3 Auckland, the Asia Pacific champion, Christian Kemp from Australia.
That's a great race from the Aussie. He's done an amazing job, and it's probably a breakthrough performance for the guy. He wasn't on a lot of people's radar before the race, but now after the race, he's going to be on everyone's radar.
And a man who spent a lot of time in Auckland, the big Kiwi double Olympic medalist, second place today in the Asia Pacific Championship at Ironman 70.3 Auckland, Bevan Doherty.
It's been a tough day for Bevan. Probably not the result he wanted, but still a great result, great way to kick off the season, and some good points up for grabs.
So Bevan Doherty, bit of a shake on the head, throwing his shoes away. There's Clark Ellis, he hung tough, he did extremely well. His race plan really has been executed almost to perfection.
Yeah, if his race plan was to stick with Bevan as long as possible, he's done a great job of it.
Christian Kemp, Asia Pacific champion. How does that sit with you?
Oh, it's wonderful. You know, it's the biggest title of my career so far, and I'm stoked. I can't believe it. I'm so happy. It's the best race of my life so far, and yeah, I'm really happy. I wasn't thinking of winning at the start of the run. I was just wanted to have a great run, injury-free, and you know, as the run went on, I was with Clark and Bevan, and it was us three, and you know, Bevan put a bit of a surge on and put a gap into Clark, and I was like, wow, it's down to me and Bevan, and you know, Bevan's such a class athlete, you can't discount him at any time, and I got a bit of a gap, and you know, I went for it. I thought I might have gone a bit early, and the quads were stinging the last couple of K, but I hung on for the win, and yeah, I'm just stoked.
Bevan, congratulations, second place. A tough ride and run.
Yeah, actually felt like crap all day out there, so pretty happy with this result, to be honest. You could just tell Kemp was really strong out there. I mean, he was strong in the swim, strong on the bike, and he was playing with us on the run. So you got to choose your battles. It would have been good to win at home here, but you know, it's a long year, so I'm happy with where I'm at. Still a lot of work to be done, but one way to wake the body up.
Back to the women's course. Annabelle Luxford is dominating this race. Caroline Steffen is hanging on to second extremely well as well.
Yeah, and it looks like at the moment Meredith Kessler has moved into third place.
As we look across the Viaduct Event Centre and the finish line for this course, Annabelle Luxford, though, a dominant performance. She'll be a very happy girl.
Annabelle, she's going to want to relax, but she knows she has to keep focused. She's got about 1.5 kilometres to the finish line, and if she lets it go now, anything can happen. Her body can start cramping, so she has to keep focused, keep driving, and keep pushing it all the way to the finish.
And doing a very good job of it as well, Annabelle Luxford. Not too far to go, about 1,500 metres. And in second place, Caroline Steffen. But here she is, wrapping it up, coming around the front of the Viaduct Event Centre towards the finisher's chute, Annabelle Luxford.
Yeah, it's a great way for Annabelle to start the year. It's a long season ahead of the pros, and for her to have this title, 1,500 points up for grabs going into the season is great.
Smile in her face finally for the Ironman 70.3 Auckland Asia Pacific champion, Annabelle Luxford from Australia.
And Caroline Steffen coming in for second place. This is a great race from her. She's hung tough all day, and she's going to be happy with second place at the Ironman 70.3 Auckland race.
Wave to the crowd as she heads towards the finisher's chute. And Caroline Steffen, acknowledging the support that she gets, splits her time between Switzerland and Australia these days. A few high fives for the supporters as she comes across the finish line second in the Asia Pacific Championship. A wave to the volunteers, a wave to the crowd, and shake hands time with the champion.
The Asia Pacific title is now yours. Tell us what it means for you to be winning here on this beautiful course here in Auckland.
I mean, Auckland was a fantastic course. It was really quite challenging. When I came, I didn't know how challenging it would be, but it was deceptive. And with the wind and the hills on the first part of the bike, I'm really happy to come away with the win here.
Caroline, congratulations, second place, another podium in a big championship race. A bit of an interesting day for you.
Yeah, I was quite a bit nervous because I didn't know what I can expect. Just back in training, and I was in the altitude. I did a lot of hill work, so I was a little bit tired. And but it was a great race, a really exciting course, and I'm quite happy with second.
A wonderful morning, a very impressive course. Auckland and Ironman 70.3. Auckland organisers will be extremely happy with how this event has gone. It's now going to be an iconic event for New Zealand and the international calendar. My thanks to Terenza Bizzoni. Good luck for the rest of the year. As I say, this is a wrap from the 70.3 Auckland. Thanks for watching. Congratulations to Christian Kemp in the men's race and Annabelle Luxford, who took out the women's race. We look forward to bringing this event to you again in 2014.